Hello, everyone. I'm Major Garrett in Washington. Tonight on America Decides, we're going to lean pretty heavily into the law. Here's one question. Does being born in America give you, as someone born here, the right to become, with that birth, a citizen? As you know, President Trump has been pretty vocal recently about his desire to end what is known as birthright citizenship. He marked his intentions very clearly on his first day back in office, the second time around, with an executive order that sought to do just that. Now, today, the Supreme Court began to weigh in, hearing a case that deals with the 14th Amendment, public opinion, and the president's agenda. It also deals with a much larger question that the court may lean more aggressively into. Can a federal district judge, with an order, block the actions of any executive, meaning any president? Also, in the law, one of our big topics tonight, a Wisconsin judge on the other side of it, Hannah Dugan, facing federal obstruction charges, and why she and her attorneys are arguing prosecutors cannot charge her with any crime for helping a man evade federal immigration officials. Also, something that might become law. House Republicans are, in fits and starts, moving forward with President Trump's budget and taxation legislation. But there's a sticking point, a pretty prominent one, with some lawmakers over state and local tax deductions, and that, brace yourself, could pour salt on the plan. More on where negotiations stand as the show continues. And, as you might remember, the president is continuing his trip in the Middle East, in the United Arab Emirates, the final leg of that tour, which has been marked by quite a few business deals and a fair amount of controversy. Meanwhile, in Turkey, Vladimir Putin and Vladimir Zelensky skipped talks to end the war between Russia and Ukraine. We start tonight with CBS News chief legal correspondent Jan Crawford. Jan, thank you so much for joining us from the Supreme Court. Set the scene today, what you heard and what it might augur for the future.
You know, Major, it was 2.5 hours of, I think, pretty difficult arguments for the justices, because there's a majority, based on my count, that would like to end these nationwide injunctions. They think they're inappropriate and they go well beyond what district court judges have the power to do. That said, they seem to be completely lacking a consensus on how to do that. What kind of bright line rule would they adopt? How would they write this opinion? So, I mean, while I think they would like to end nationwide injunctions, Major, I'm not at all sure they're going to be able to find that exit strategy for how to do that, because this case is so unique. You know, every judge that's taken a look at the issue of birthright citizenship has said it's unconstitutional. So there's no division in the lower courts. There is a nationwide rule. The opponents of Trump's executive order say, and that's exactly how it should be in a case like this. You can't have piecemeal litigation. You can't have different states with different rules for citizenship. So that was causing a lot of problems, just the nature of this case. Of course, as you know, the merits of birthright citizenship are not at issue now, although I think they probably will be down the road, Major.
And yet, Jan, the court took the case. It seems to want to do something in this space, not necessarily, as you just indicated, with birthright citizenship, but with this idea of the breadth and scope and frequency of nationwide district court injunctions.
Without question, absolutely. And as the Solicitor General said today, there have been 40 of these nationwide injunctions entered just in President Trump's second term since he took office and started handing down all these executive orders, which is well more than we've ever seen historically. But of course, remember, this is not a partisan issue. One of the last briefs that President Biden's Solicitor General filed in the Supreme Court urged the justices to take control of these issues and do away with them, because, you know, President Biden was getting hit with nationwide injunctions from conservative judges in some of these red states, like Texas. The same with President Obama, who also opposed them and saw his DACA, for example, program get hit with some of his immigration efforts. So, you know, presidents don't like nationwide injunctions, and that's regardless of whatever party they're in. The justices, though, they could have dealt with this earlier, and now they've got this case, which is not a great case for them to be deciding the issue on. And honestly, I mean, it's just something. I thought the arguments today were something of a mess. Like, they seem like they're not quite sure how they're going to handle it, and they may not. I mean, sometimes, Major, you know, they think they're going to decide something a certain way, and then they'll start writing the opinion, and then there's an expression that opinion won't write. And then they'll change their votes or they'll change their minds. So we'll see. I expect a decision certainly by the end of June. So they've got some time, but not much time.
Speaking of those arguments, messy or not, I want to play for our audience Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson and get your feeling on the other side about whether this was representative of some of the things the court was grappling with. Let's listen.
The real concern, I think, is that your argument seems to turn our justice system, in my view at least, into a catch-me-if-you-can kind of regime from the standpoint of the executive, where everybody has to have a lawyer and file a lawsuit in order for the government to stop violating people's rights.
Jan?
Yeah, and I mean, what she said there, Justice Kagan echoed later, saying that she agreed it does seem like catch me if you can, because, you know, if you're going to file a lawsuit and you've got lawyers and then you get a judge to enter an order, saying that this birthright citizenship doesn't apply to you, that's great for you. But then what about all those other people who don't have lawyers, who don't know what the rules are? They would be subject to potentially Trump's new executive order if you didn't have nationwide injunctions. That's the argument. Some of the justices, though, and Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, I think, does not oppose nationwide injunctions in any event. But some of the justices who do, some of the conservatives, suggested that courts could deal with that. Justice Brett Kavanaugh said, listen, the better way to handle this is just treat it as class actions. That's a different rule. The parties, who are all be similarly situated, could be treated as a class, and then judges could enter a temporary restraining order or an injunction protecting them as a class. It would have the same practical consequences, but it would be a different rule. And he said rules matter. How courts go about that, that matters for people's faith and trust in the integrity of the courts, Major.
And Jen, very quickly before I let you go, you're very, very good at analyzing not only what happens in arguments, but where the court might be landing. When we see this ruling, do you expect it to be almost entirely about this question of district court injunctions and almost nothing about birthright citizenship, saying the president can't do this by executive order? That's clear. We're going to rule on that and get to this other larger or seemingly competing issue.
Yes, this came up multiple times today. Of course, the administration didn't ask the court to decide the underlying merits of the issue. It's not briefed. It's not properly before them. So unless they do something else, then this will just be about nationwide injunctions. Major, I will tell you, though, there were a couple times today during the argument where several of the justices suggested we just need to go ahead and deal with this. We've got to deal with the underlying merits. Let's just get on with it and decide it at the same time. Why not? If they do that, they'll have to have additional briefing, maybe additional arguments. So they would have to actually enter an order asking for more filings, because right now that issue is not properly before them, the merits, the underlying merits.
We're going to keep a very close eye on that, and to help us do that will, of course, as always, be Jan Crawford, the best. Thanks so much, Jan.